All right, Last Resort drop 16. Let's be honest, mid. Let's start with the Millix. First of all, I hate this pre-yellowed sole. I'm not into it at all. I can only assume that they've called it nicotine because that's the color of Old Head's teeth.
14 dental appointments. They're still fucked up.
Just not really into the colors of these at all. In the past, with most of these drops, they've tried to have a more colorful one and a more neutral one, which I think does work quite well, especially because Chris Millick is a bit more of an out there skater. So working in those more interesting colors works for the overall branding of a Chris Millick shoe. These, however, are two pretty boring colors. Like black and gray are just really doing nothing for me combined with that yellowing sole. Like I'm just really not into that. The rest of the standard drop is what you'd expect. Some more basic colors in the more basic models. One thing I am happy to see that Last Resort is doing is actually bringing in some more materials. In this drop, we have the VM003 in a leather and a corduroy, which is really nice. I will say though that this corduroy looks to be a slightly thicker canvas. It's going to get destroyed, straight up. If you skate this, it will not last very long, so just keep that in mind. Also, again, the CM001 is here. I'm sure someone will like it. There's also now holes on the side, so you can really air out your feet in the middle of a Starbucks, let everyone know that you've just been on the session for real. Also, I gotta put it out there. I see people online, I've spoken to people in my real life, they really like this VM006 mock. I hate it. I hate this thing. I don't think this shoe looks good at all. It obviously looks like a Clarks, that's obviously what it's going for, but to me, it just looks like a Clarks, bro. You end up looking like Walter White on the session, my guy. Like, it is kind of ridiculous in my opinion. I don't think that iPath one is any better. Like, I just really don't like this shoe.
Things that should be illegal to do on a skateboard. Starting with...
Also with this drop, Last Resort's investing a little bit in the clothes. So there is the SM001 cut and sew button up. I haven't actually seen it in person. Hopefully it's not just some cheap thing, but Last Resort is generally pretty good with the quality. And the PM001, hopefully they're nice quality too. They do look to be sort of a Dickies inspired material. The last sort of thing I want to talk about is the price of them, to be honest. So from my bit of research, this does seem to be an issue in the US, but it's definitely more of an issue, at least in more foreign countries. I live in Australia and it's definitely an issue here. The shoes are getting pretty expensive, especially when compared to the competition. To put it in perspective, here is the VM003 all white leather, one that just dropped. It's 190 AUD. Now, if we look at the new Nike Dancer Blazer collab that just came out, all black leather. Also, this one's a collab. It's got the special swoosh on it. It's $160. If I take all that off and I just drop it back to a standard white blazer, 120 AUD. It's kind of a big difference. 120 AUD to 190 AUD. That $70 difference is pretty huge. And I don't want to sound like I think that Last Resort should be delivering shoes at the same price point as Nike. I do understand that for Last Resort to produce a shoe that is of even remotely similar quality to that of Nike's, it's going to cost them more to make. Like, that's just how it is. Nike has huge manufacturing budgets and makes 1 million blazers. Therefore, it costs them less per blazer to make than it costs Last Resort per VM3 to make. I also do believe that paying extra for products, if they're from a company and skaters you like, isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it's much better to give your money to those sort of companies than to give it to Nike. In saying all that though, I don't think that Last Resort should be 120 AUD, but I also think 190 is getting kind of out there and is definitely making it harder to justify spending that extra money to support a skater-owned company.